MLB DFS Tuesday, July 9th. Out of the base path picks, we found our niche. What I like to do with this podcast is to discuss the pitchers that no one is talking about, to discuss the tournament picks that may help you win that GPP, to break down some of the finite statistics that most people are not digging into. We get deep, we get unique, we get weird. MLB DFS out of the base path picks. We usually go for the cheap guys, or those middle range guys. Everybody knows the elite pitchers on the slate. I don't need to tell you about Chris Sale, Zach Gallen, or Yusei Kikuchi and Zach Wheeler. I don't need to go over Nick Lodolo. Love the Reds, but you don't need to hear about it. Let's talk about Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober, not quite as good as he was last season, really developing, but now he is starting to turn it around, get into gear. Last game, pretty soft matchup, but 8 strikeouts, 6 innings, 1 earned run. And the reason that I liked him in that last matchup was that I broke down his pitch mix, which is fastball, slider, changeup. And in that matchup, the team he was facing, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was Detroit. Struggle with those pitches. We break down the pitches. We look at how teams match up against the pitches. We get deep here. Well, guess what? A matchup with the White Sox really doesn't get any better than that. 24% K rate, striking out 26% over last week. 129 ISO, 278 WOBA, 77 WRC plus, and for those scoring at home, 100 is average. So well below average. 320 WOBA is acceptable. 278. You'd really like to see an ISO in the 160 to 180 range. So no power, no isolated power. Nothing to worry about. Well, the ballpark is a bit of a concern, but Ober should be fine. Absolutely. Now, he does give a little bit more fly balls, and there will be that concern, but the strikeout potential is absolutely there. We saw it in his last game. But what we really love, again, is the pitch mix. His slider and changeup are his put-away pitches. Guess what? The Chicago White Sox are the worst in baseball against both of those pitches. So if there was ever time for Bailey Ober to, again, get 8 to 10 strikeouts where he can use his put-away pitches of slider and changeup, should go over well against the White Sox. Now, worth noting that on May 1st, he did give up 4 runs to the White Sox. Long time ago, started the season out a little bit slower. He's much hotter now. And then even in that outing where he gave up 4 runs, he only allowed 6 hits, and he didn't walk a batter. Bailey Ober, 8,700. Most people are just going to want to spend up. That's probably one of the places to go. Dean Kramer, first game back from the IL. 8 strikeouts versus Seattle. Now he gets the Cubs. They're striking out 25% of the time against righties. 26% K rate over the last week. 5 innings. We don't know how stretched out he is, but 8 strikeouts, just 2 hits, 0 runs. Worth looking at. 7,700. You've got strikeout upside against the Cubs. People paying up. A little early, but even before that, before his injury, he had, I think in 2 of the last 4 double-digit strikeout games. Double-digit strikeout games. Nothing to sneeze about. What about, not sneeze, but Snell. Blake Snell returning from the IL. Yeah, the numbers aren't that great on the season. He has had some games where he's striking people out. He also has some struggles. 51% strand rate, that'll happen when you've got a 406 BABIP. It's not always great to have that BABIP. Now, what we want to dig into is his rehab assignments. First rehab assignment, not great, not long. Second rehab assignment, really a rough outing, very rusty. But his third start, his most recent start, 5 innings pitched, no runs, no hits, 9 strikeouts. Toronto doesn't strike out that much, but they are striking out more this week. They are not a good offense. If he was dialed in that last start, could we possibly see the Snell that we saw at the end of last season? At 7,800, I would be willing to take that risk, especially against Toronto in an extreme pitcher's ballpark. Especially if people are going to be paying up for these guys. Security, confidence, almost all guaranteed up here. Snell likely go unowned over despite the price tag. How deep people are going to look at that minor league start? Maybe. People are going to be worried about, 951 ERA. I like going there. Quinn Priester. So again, sometimes I'm not always going to say we should pick these guys, but we should discuss these guys at least for future note. Priester, number 3-star prospect for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 72 overall in Major League Baseball. 6 Ks in his last minor league baseball tune-up. His last 2 games in the pros, though, were, BABIP outings. But he did have good xFIP in those games. But he did get hit hard. But who ultimately is Priester and more disgusting because he is 5,700? An extreme ground ball pitcher. 60% ground ball rate. Can he score fantasy points? Well, he doesn't have to score a lot of fantasy points at 5,700. It's probably not the day to go to him against Milwaukee. Pretty good offense, 327 WOBA, 112 WRC plus against righties. Could easily see him getting bled to death, getting BABIP to death like he has in previous outings. But he's definitely somebody you want to keep on the radar. Although if there was a time where he could get away with, obviously not Miller Park anymore, but Milwaukee is a homer-friendly, hitter-friendly ballpark. But as a ground ball pitcher, that doesn't really factor in as much. So you might be getting a bit of a discount on Priester because, it's at Milwaukee versus Milwaukee, price him up. Well, he's a ground ball pitcher, so you might not necessarily need to price him up, although he has given up 2.0 home runs per 9, smaller sample size. But the kid could be solid. I don't think today is the day against Milwaukee. The chosen land, I believe, is what Alice Cooper told us. But in the future, keep your eye on the guy in the black with the white color. Jose Quintana, the rebirth. Welcome back. We talk about Quintana a lot on this show. He's having a great year. And he's cheap. And he's been in a lot of really good matchups lately. So what do you want me to do? We have to talk about Quintana. I thought he was dead. He looked dead for the Angels. He has been revitalized. It's also benefiting from some soft matchups lately. But either way, here we go again. Now, this is a back-to-back. He just faced the Washington Nationals. Now, in that game against the Washington Nationals, 7 scoreless innings, but just 1 strikeout. Very interesting. That should set up alerts and red flags in your brain like, that's great. No runs, but how do they do it? And how do you replicate that? Well, one of the ways you replicate that is by facing a team that against lefties has a 104 ISO, a 284 WOBA, and an 82 WRC+. They are just not very good. CJ Abrams, at the top of the order, lefty, actually can hit lefties. Lane Thomas can hit lefties. And then the cliff falls off. Maybe James Wood. I doubt James Wood will have a good game against, it's a lefty-lefty matchup. I wouldn't project or suspect him to really be that great. There's no one else in this lineup that can hit lefties. So can he do it again without striking people out? Yeah, he can. It is odd, so I dug a little bit deeper. Now, he has benefited from some soft matchups lately, but he still is getting the job done. And he definitely got the job done against Washington a week ago. How did he do it? I dug in because those are some weird numbers. And his xFIP was 6. Like, whoa, pump the brakes, got to get off the Jose Quintana train. But I'll make an argument that Jose Quintana can work. And the reason why is he just pumped them with a bunch of curveballs. And they couldn't hit it. The average exit velocity on those curveballs, a team that does not do well against lefties or curveballs, was average exit velocity of 74. So basically, he just said, here it is, try to hit this thing. And the batting average against on that pitch was 0. So he wasn't even really trying to necessarily K or blow him away. And he said, here it is, I know you can't hit it, you can't hit it. And that's how he's able to go pretty deep into the game. So although he didn't pile up the Ks, and he could this time, by throwing fewer pitchers, he went deeper into the game. So at 6,900, Katana versus Washington. Yeah, it's a back-to-back. You could say, oh, well, they're going to be ready for it this time. Man, they've been ready for lefties all year, and they got a 104 ISO, 284 WOA, 82 WRC plus. I don't care if they think they're ready for it. Last guy on the board that we'll talk about here on our out of the base path picks, getting into the fringe, getting out of the way, talking about the uniques, is Adam Mazur. Good matchup against Seattle. 29% K rate, 33% over the last week. Not a good team. Well, they actually are a good team. They manage to score runs and win games, but they're not great. AL West ain't that great. 94 WRC plus, all the numbers below average, and just striking out like it's nobody's business. Problem is, Mazur isn't really a strikeout pitcher. At least he hasn't been. So who is this guy? 2022 second round pick. And he just catapulted through the minors. Just destroyed AA this year, so they immediately sent him up to AAA. Now, his AAA numbers weren't very good, but guess what, folks? You always have to be cognizant of what AAA league was he in. It was the PCL. So his ERA wasn't very good at AAA after being quickly promoted from AA. But the Padres know that. The Padres are well aware. Most teams are well aware, like, don't really worry about the ERAs. The kid making pitches. Does the kid look comfortable? Then you call him up. Now, if someone does have a great ERA in the PCL, buckle up. So numbers don't look that great, but all the prospect reports say great fastball, great slider. And the slider is his main put-away pitch. Well, guess what, folks? Seattle, a team that loves to strike out, ranks 28th against sliders. So although Mazur has not piled up the strikeouts in his handful of major league starts since being called up a month ago, this could be the day where he really has a breakout, where he really uses that slider against a strikeout prone team that struggles with sliders. He also has a very low barrel rate. So yeah, the xFIP's not great, and that's because the walks are high and the Ks are low. But this could be the opportunity where he swings those around. Strand rate should improve. But again, like I mentioned, look at this. Home run per fly ball, just 8%. He does not get barreled. There is a very good chance that he could dominate Seattle, striking them out. He doesn't give up power. Their only real chance is to, poke and bleed him to death, which I don't think is Seattle's modus operandi. And you've got the ballpark advantage. So if he's not giving up home runs actually doesn't, not the greatest ballpark. San Diego's pretty even anymore. I'm sorry. Actually, might be kind of hitter friendly, actually. But that'll do it. Those are your out of the base path picks. Please like, subscribe, share, show this to other people. Hopefully you'll come back. There are other DFS shows out there. Go through the slate, grind through, give you the names and the normal information that you already know. But you come here for deeper, unique stuff. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Share this baby with other people. Get it out of the base path.